How goes it, everyone? The Arid Lord is back. Welcome back to another Walking Dead Season 10 vlog. This one is a preview for Episode 7, Open Your Eyes. And that is quite literally the name of this episode, Open Your Eyes. So, the description reads, Carol pushes boundaries that make Daryl uncomfortable. Alpha and Beta have reservations about someone. Now, the second part is clearly about Negan. Although Negan is not present in any of the preview clips for this episode, which is a interesting point, I just have to say, that the guy who infiltrated himself into the Whisperer camp, we don't know what his full intentions are, but in a very hilarious manner as episode 6 went down, and he's nowhere to be seen in the previews at least. Now the previews, as I'm showing you guys, focus on a few key areas. The first is Sadiq. Now, this has been culminating over a number of episodes. The PTSD that Sadiq suffered when he was one of the head pike victims, seemingly was going to be one of the head pike victims, and was spared on the surface to tell the tale of what happened, although some people have some notions that perhaps there was something else aloof, that maybe he was trying to sell out the survivors to the Whisperers, or there was some arrangement made with Alpha so that he could keep his life. We don't know if any of that is true, but we might find out in this episode. So we know from the end of last episode, where Sadiq just appeared on top of the windmill with his kid, that he is clearly not over what happened, and he's tripping balls, per se. And we're going to get more of that creepiness that we did in episode 3, where Carol was suffering from her PTSD, and I was wondering why there wasn't as much of a focus on Sadiq, and the reason for that is because we're going to get it here. Now, Sadiq is, in a couple of these images, overlooking the ill patients. If you recall, there's an illness, what most of us believe, what I believe to be the walker that Gamma was cutting in the water. She was emptying the infected guts into the water and getting a whole bunch of people sick, and I think that that's what the chief cause is, and I don't know if these people are just going to flat out die because they're ingesting zombie bacteria, however the process works. We saw a little bit of that in Season 8 when the Saviors infected their weapons and then were cutting people and trying to get the process started like that, but we don't know how much of consuming, I guess, zombie byproduct will infect you. So I guess that's going to be something to explore as we get to the cause of this illness. But super creepy seeing Alpha in the window here, in her dress from the fair, bald-headed, and it's something out of a horror film. I'm getting definitely a lot of horror vibes, and this is going to be, if we're going to take a lot of this episode from Sadiq's perspective, this is going to be a creepy ride. Some of the narration is from the Whisper that Carol captured, so we're going to have that. Daryl and Carol are going to be interrogating this random Whisperer, who, in the preview clip, Lydia says that that Whisperer knows where the Mega Horde is, so potentially he's a valuable asset, but we don't know. He's a no-named character who just is being used for Carol's unhinged decision-making because she wants vengeance, and she's not listening to reason. There, in the preview clip also, Gabriel confronts her and says that it was not her call to make to take that Whisperer, and it potentially put everything at risk. We saw a little bit of this last episode where Daryl was giving his reservations about the whole thing, where he was raising an eyebrow as to what they were doing. The fact that she lied to Daryl, didn't even trust him that she was going there to capture a Whisperer. Originally, she had him believing that they were going to look for Negan, and in the end, they were going to capture a Whisperer to get some leverage to find the Horde. And that was about probably the only truthful thing that she said, that they were trying to find the Mega Horde to destroy it, and one method is capturing this guy so that he can point out the location. Now, if you have a sea of 10,000-ish walkers, however many there are, I would feel like that would be pretty hard to maintain track of. Like, what, other than that valley that was empty the last we saw it, I don't know where else really you could keep that many walkers, unless there's some type of confined space, kind of like the quarry that we had in season 6 when there was that giant collection of walkers, if you guys remember. So, bit odd, but looking through these clips, there is the Erin Gamma confrontation again. Gamma seemingly being used as a double agent. She might try to gain Erin's trust. Erin's going to think that he's gaining some ground, trying to make allies out of some of these Whisperers who might not believe the archaic ways of Alpha, and maybe Erin is looking for an alternate. He is looking for an alternate means. We know this. When he reached out and gave the healing patch, the bandages to Gamma, and Alpha saw it as an opportunity to get more information and to further plant a virus inside the community. So I know that this isn't going to end well, and just seeing from the confrontation here, we know that this confrontation is not going to end well. It's just not going to. Even though Erin is coming in all hopeful, there's no way that he's going to get any type of information from Gamma. And I don't think Gamma is of the convincing type. We know that her sister left her baby, was murdered. I don't know if Gamma maybe harbors some of that resentment against Alpha, but we haven't seen any indication of it yet. So I only expect to see blind loyalty in terms of this Erin stuff, just to let you guys know. And then we have more scenes with Sadiq freaking out, teleporting himself. I wonder if this is where we see the head pike scene. I wonder if we're going to actually see all of these characters have their heads chopped off, which I think would be horrible. They've teased a couple of times scenes of Alpha sitting in the barn looking at the bloody machete. There's been a few extra scenes that we've had courtesy of Sadiq's PTSD flashbacks, but could this be the episode where they all come together and he has to confront it? I don't know. And I don't know what character is going to snap him out of this, because a couple have tried to confront him and get him to deal with this, and he just can't stop seeing this, and it's going to become an issue. And another issue is Carol and, I guess not so much an unlikely duo, but we have Carol and Lydia on horseback in this scene. And I don't know, maybe the Whisperer gives them a tidbit of information and they go out to see if the source is credible. So that's kind of what I'm piecing together from here. So you're going to have Sadiq PTSD flashbacks and him maybe finally trying to confront his, the growing rift in his mind between sanity and insanity. You're going to have Carol blindly following this lead, not listening to advice from the council, whether it's Gabriel or Daryl, and using this Whisperer prisoner for information. She's going to get Lydia involved into this mix. I don't know how forthcoming Lydia will be, or if she'll have any extra information. Honestly, I would think Lydia would have the most information. Being the daughter of Alpha, I don't see how she wouldn't know some of this information. Like, some random Whisperers know more information than her. I just, kind of confusing. Maybe things have changed since Lydia was back with the Whisperers, and so you need a more recent member to get that updated information. But it remains to be seen. There's true indication that Daryl and Carol intend to torture this Whisperer. I mean, the preview clip shows him bloody, shirtless, his fingers pressed against the concrete cement, Daryl brandishing a knife. Not a happy environment. So I don't know how much torture they're going to go through. Maybe Daryl stops it at some point because Carol's going too far. I don't know how it's going to play out. All I know is there is an additional scene where we have Gamma in the woods, and she has a confrontation with Alpha. That much we know. And we also have this very odd scene of Sadiq in the barn with it's him kneeling in the barn, And again, I'm just wondering if we're going to get that full sequence of everyone having their heads chopped off, which would be very brutal. And I would only support it if it served a purpose. And if it's going to get Sadiq back into the realm of sanity, as I said, then I'm all for it. But, I mean, just random violence. I mean, they skipped it. It was insinuated what happened, obviously, last season and how horrible it was. So I don't know if we need to do that. But when you have Sadiq jumping in the water and standing on top of windmills, something's wrong with this guy. And I'm hoping this episode tackles that and maybe wraps a ribbon around it. I'm not sure if the total annihilation of the Whispers is going to bring this guy back from the precipice, or if he's just going to do something really reckless, put himself in danger and get killed. I mean, because I'm thinking of a few comic deaths from the Whisperer arc that Sadiq could definitely fit. And I'm just thinking if he keeps going off the deep end, that might be where his character's headed. And this is the guy in the show that Carl sacrificed his life for. So, I mean, we have to keep all of that in mind. I mean, he does have a kid with Rosita, but I just, to get rid of this character would have to be a good reason, considering you killed one of your biggest characters to keep him alive and more to keep the storyline going. I know it was more to give the show a reason to keep Negan alive, and I'm thankful for that, but the comic had written itself into a corner, and so killing Carl was the way of undoing that. So, but anyway, not to get too far into that, I just wanted to point out a few things in that regard, and that's what we got from this episode. And there will probably be more photos that are released, but for the initial preview, I want to know what you guys think. Are we going to have Sadiq come face-to-face with his PTSD? Are they going to show the whole Pike sequence, the whole beheading? Is that really necessary? Do you think it's necessary? Is Negan even going to be in this episode? Because there's not one preview clip with him in it. Will Gamma inevitably betray Erin and use him for information? Or do you think Erin can maybe convince her that the Whisperer way is insane and that she should come back to their camp? That would be an interesting. Maybe the show wants to throw you for a curveball and making you think that Gamma's obviously going to use Erin, but maybe she starts to see the light in this type of civilization and she could come to the good side. Maybe, I don't know. We'll that's a prediction. We'll have to see. And then where are Lydia and Carol going? Where is that going to end for setting us up for the mid-season finale? What's this showdown going to look like? And yeah, those are kind of my top questions. If there's any other additional images, let me know. But nothing else from last episode, like the Eugene radio stuff doesn't seem to be in this episode. Negan doesn't seem to be in this episode, at least from my initial viewing. But you better believe we'll get that before the season's up. So, yeah, that's about all I got for this one. Let me know what you guys think, predictions, comments, and all of that. Leave it below, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I will see you later for more content. Peace out.